सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ओम शांति शांति शांति। हरि ओम तत्सत। We were discussing verse 45 in the 18th chapter of the Gita last Sunday. There the subject of work came, and Sri Krishna is telling us in this and in the next verse how this work is to be related to the highest reality of God in man and nature. Then that work will get tremendous strength, tremendous power of elevating the worker to the highest level. In that connection I said I shall speak a little more detail about it next Sunday. That means today. So we shall take up that subject now. It is said here that if you relate your life and work to a short-term goal, your achievements will be good, but very limited. The higher the goal, the greater the effect of that work on man and society. So he started by telling in 45, Sve sve karmanya bhiratah samsiddhim labhate naraha sakarma nirata siddhim yatha prapsyasi tat shrunu yatha vindati tat shrunu sve sve karmani abhiratah. In the light of what we saw earlier, dealing with the classification of society into Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra, according to innate endowments and temperaments, not according to birth. If that is so, each one has a particular tendency. It comes to us from our very birth. We can alter it a little, but not much. Genetic constitutions cannot be altered beyond a certain limit. They are there. And so we have a little determination of our life's function at the time of our birth. A child becomes interested in music, very young, sometimes 4 years, 5 years even. Nobody can alter it, it is there. And he or she shines in that particular field. So also in other aspects, just like a mathematical genius coming from a young little child. These are all inborn. The word sahaja comes here. Sahaja, born with you. There you have the modern concept of the genetic constitution of the human mind and the human body. We follow. But a good deal can be changed by education and social conditioning. But beyond a certain limit you cannot achieve anything new. You have to follow your own nature. Everybody has to discover this truth for oneself. And that society is the best society where every human being has the freedom and the opportunity to choose for oneself what he or she thinks best for oneself. We help them. but they themselves choose. That choosing must be free. In a very rigid society, there is no such choosing. Our mistake in Hindu society was we destroyed that freedom. We stereotyped everybody. This is your line, this is your line, remain there. We never allowed freedom to operate. That chapter is over. Now we are entering a period of full freedom for a human being to manifest, unfold one's own capacities, talents, possibilities, etc. A society which will bring out the best out of each individual, what he or she is endowed with by nature, sahaja as we call it. We shall help you to manifest it. So the Gita shloka says here, having been born with certain endowments, we try to live according to those endowments, correcting whatever we can, adding, revising whatever we can, but largely following what is given to us in our constitution. And thus, sve sve karmani abhirataha. I am starting my work based upon all this. I have freely chosen my particular path, my particular work in society. Having freely chosen, what shall I do? Stick to it. Sve sve karmani abhirataha. Find delight in your own chosen field of work. You are free to get to any particular job you like, and once you get it, engage yourself in it and find delight in it. The word is ramate. Samskriti says, Svesya karmani abhirataha. Abhirata means deeply delighted in the work that you do. If my work is according to my own inclination, I do certainly with great joy. If I am a square peg in a round hole, I will not function well. So having chosen, now find delight in your work. Abhirataha means that. Do work with delight, with joy. It has a great message for man in the modern age, because our age has one wonderful defect. We don't find joy in work. We seek joy outside work. In a holiday, we find joy, not in work. Work is drudgery, a philosophy which has come to us today in the modern industrial civilization. Work is drudgery. Seek joy outside work, so that it has invaded even the home. Even looking after a baby is drudgery. You don't want it. You want joy, joy, joy outside all this. That is most dangerous for human society. If you can't find joy in your work, that is very bad. So today we are injecting that value system into work also, so that you can get joy out of your work. And when religion comes in, immediately that value system comes also, that we work in the thought of the divine, as a worship of the divine. That will come in the next verse here. In every religion there is this provision. You are working, and background is the infinite divine. You are worshipping Him, serving Him. All these things come along with it, so that you capture joy in work by seeing the ultimate reference of work to a great reality. We don't detach it from that ultimate source. Sve sve karmani abhirataha. Samsiddhim labhate naraha. Man can achieve samsiddhi, full perfection. How? Swakarma nirata siddhim yatha vindati. How does a person achieve this perfection? Devoted to one's own chosen field of work. I will tell you, listen to me. Tat shranu. Krishna is telling here, listen to me. Then comes that great statement in 46. Yatah pravartit bhutanam yena sarvamidam tatam swakarmana tamabhyarchya siddhim vindati manavaha. Manava means manushya, the human being. Not man as against woman, just a human being. Manavaha. He achieves or she achieves perfection. How? Siddhim vindati. By dedicating oneself to the worship of the divine through one's own work. My work becomes a worship of the divine. How is it possible? Because the whole universe has come from that one divine source. Even now, the universe exists in that divine source. And eventually, it will return back to the divine source. That is India's presentation of the nature of the ultimate reality, God, or Brahman as we call it in Sanskrit. What is Brahman? That from which the universe comes, that in which the universe exists even now, that unto which the universe returns. That is Brahman, the ultimate reality. This definition, so clearly expounded in the Taittiriya Upanishad, can be accepted by any thinker in modern scientific fields of inquiry, because that is the nature of the ultimate reality. That ultimate background material from which the universe has come is only unfolded in this universe. That reality is there in every particle in this universe. So, our concept of Brahman is that. And that statement in the Taittiriya is so beautiful, well worded. Yato va imani bhutani jayante yena jatani jivanti yat prayantyapi samvishanti tad vijñāsasva tad brahmeti. That from which, yato means from which, imani bhutani jayante, all these beings have come out, from which, that reality is being discussed here, from which, yato, yena jatani jivanti, by whom they still exist in this world, they are maintained in this state of manifestation. Then, yat prayanti abhisamvishanti, when they cease to exist here, they go back to that original source itself. That is Brahman, that from which the world comes, that in which it rests, that unto which it returns. That is the one behind the many, that is within the many, that to which the many return in the end. This is how Upanishads define the nature of ultimate reality. In modern cosmology, the same concept is there. As I repeat here again and again, the only difference is in the character of that ultimate reality. Modern cosmology sees it only as an inert material stuff, that's all. We see it as a pure consciousness, one and non-dual. Brahman is Jnana Swarupa, Chit Swarupa. From that Brahman, the whole universe has come, in which it exists, unto which it returns. And therefore, modern cosmology cannot give you a God to worship. Nobody worships a lump of matter behind this universe. But all Vedanta gives you a profound reality to worship and to relate yourself to. That is Brahman, of the nature of pure consciousness, one and non-dual. The Taittiriya again presents it in the second chapter. Satyam, Jnanam, Anantam, Brahma. Brahman is Satyam, truth. Jnanam, knowledge or consciousness. Anantam, infinite. That is the nature of Brahman. Satyam, Jnanam, Anantam, Brahma. Then is he far away? No. Because the whole universe has come from that Brahman. That Brahman is in you. Yo Veda Nihitam Guhayam Parame Vyomanna. He is manifest in your heart, in its highest reaches, ever present there. That cause is in the effect. Therefore, that Brahman is not far away, he is nearest to you. Behind your mind, behind your buddhi, is the infinite Brahman, as the self of yourself. Yo Veda Nihitam Guhayam Parame Vyomanna. So Shrute Sarvan Kaman Brahmanasaha Vipaschiteti. That is the text of the Upanishad. You realize the fulfillment there. You become one with the Supreme Brahman. This human being has the capacity to understand that source from which the universe has come, because he feels and experiences that source at the back of his own consciousness as the Brahman behind the Atman, and realizes his oneness with it. This is a profound dimension of human experience, which no cosmology of a materialistic kind can ever give you. Vedanta gives you this wonderful truth to meditate upon and to realize. And though when you live your life here, it looks very ordinary, but there is something extraordinary which is related to it, that is God Himself. And so Krishna says here, Sve sve karmani abhirataha, he said. Why? Yatah pravritti bhutanam, from which is the manifestation of all these entities in the world. From that one primordial divine reality of Brahman, the universe has come. Yena sarvamidam tatam. Even now, the whole universe is pervaded by that one reality. Swakarmanatam abhyarcha. When you work, you, with a wonderful mind, which can grasp subtle and still more subtle things, you are able to realize that this work of mine is connected with that ultimate reality. What a tremendous jump of the human mind it is. It's not concerned with this little petty thing that I do here, or the little benefit I get for filling my belly. My work is not so small as that. It is a higher reference as well. This knowledge comes to a devotee of the highest reality. So, swakarmana tam abhyarcha. Through my work, I am worshipping that divine. I am connecting myself with that divine. By that method, siddhim vindati manavaha. Man achieves siddhi, perfection. This kind of achievement can come only to the human being. No subhuman species have the capacity to think of it, to achieve it. Man, as a human being, has got the organic capacity to acquire all types of knowledge, physical as well as trans-physical, and to gear his life to a high purpose. We can plan our life, direct it to high purposes. Animals do not do so. They follow simply the dictates of the genetic system, nothing more. Everything is fixed so far as they are concerned. We can commit blunders. Animals never commit blunder. Something wonderful, that man alone can commit a blunder. For example, overeating, only man can do. No animals can do overeating. In the scientific books you will read, certain cows needed certain types of chemicals in their system. You mix that chemical with water and give it to the cow. And our scientists will tell you, she will drink that much water by which that deficiency is restored. Not one drop more. Their system has a perfect measuring rod there. But we will drink the whole pot and come into trouble because we have freedom to flout the laws of nature. Genetic laws, we have the freedom. That freedom is the greatest thing. Freedom even to commit a blunder. See the language. Vivekananda's language it is. Freedom to commit a blunder is freedom. Freedom to go according to rule is no freedom at all. That's what nature is. And we have got our own nature, which is freedom itself. We are overcoming that dictate of that other nature. What a beautiful idea of human freedom. And out of that freedom has come all the challenges of human life. Problems, troubles, suffering, everything has come from that one feeling. I have freedom. I have freedom. I want to express it. I want to express it. Animals never think so. They don't have freedom. But a living animal, just like a living insect, has some freedom. That's the nature of all life. Man has higher freedom. But every living cell has a certain freedom, which no inert thing has. Inert material thing. A piece of stone has no such freedom. But as soon as you evolve into a living cell, freedom comes into the picture. Vivekananda gives an example of a small insect sitting on the rail track. After some time, it feels a trembling on the track. A train is coming from far away, some danger to its own survival, and the little insect moves out to save itself. Now a piece of stone will not do so, but an insect can do. You can see freedom there. A measure of freedom is there in every living organism. The meaning of life itself is that a living organism has an element of freedom. It is this freedom that becomes defined, expanded, integrated as evolution proceeds to the higher levels, until when you have the cerebral system in man, that freedom becomes a very vocal thing, a thing that is obvious every day. I want to be better, I want to be better, I am this, I shall be that. Various desires, ambitions. In fact, in a great passage in one of the Yajurveda texts, you will find man is an ocean of insatiable desires. The language is there. Man alone is an ocean of insatiable desires. You fill up one desire, 10 desires will come. You want to be better, better, more, more, more. All this quality has come to the human being because of that wonderful datum called freedom. Intelligence means freedom. I can shape my destiny. Nature is not going to shape my destiny. I will take it in my hands and shape it. I am free, I am free, I am free. This is the Vedantic vision of this human nature. Freedom is human nature. But we are not getting freedom. We are always conditioned by various factors and we revolt against it because of this single fact that an innate sense of freedom and a circumstance in which you are thwarted every time, it is that makes man a restless pilgrim among all nature's products. Man alone is a restless pilgrim. I must struggle, I must struggle, I must do this, I must do that, going on. This will continue till you realize that highest of freedom, namely, I am the infinite one, caught up in these little coils of body, systems, sects, creeds, etc. My real nature is that infinite one. Then all this struggle vanishes. He becomes completely free. He or she becomes full, perfect, as the language is here. This is a story of human development and fulfillment. Anything that helps you in this, that alone is worthwhile. Anything that suppresses your freedom, makes you go back again to be inert substance, absolutely bad. Freedom is the only way of human growth. A constant sentence in Vivekananda literature. Freedom is a condition of human growth. You cannot dictate to other people unless you try to make them a mere moron, a mere machine without any creativity in the individual. So stress freedom when you deal with a human being. Don't destroy that person's freedom. Your freedom should help that person also to express his or her freedom. Otherwise it is dangerous. Because of all this, life has become very complex. We have to think a lot before we go into this wonderful thing called life. So in this way, Vedanta speaks of this wider reference of my day-to-day life. Though it is a small area in which I work, after all, for example, a person is breaking stones on the roadside, a very petty little work from ordinary social point of view. But that work has reference to that ultimate reality. He or she who can realize this truth, that work will become a great source of development for that individual. This relating work to the larger canvas of reality is the work of religion. In fact, even in politics, there is that reference to a larger reality than the little world in which you and I live. A citizen works, keeping in view the large entity called the nation, national welfare, national development. The citizen always keeps in view. Otherwise, we don't care for the nation. Our misfortune in India since independence is we have been thrown into a situation where all the people of India have become citizens of a great republic, but most of them do not know what it involves, that their work has a reference to national welfare, national development. Most of them do not know this truth, that the tragedy of post-independence India. In 40 years, you could have built up this nation, removing all poverty, ignorance, everything from here, making for a progressive socio-political order. We have all the understanding for it, all the resources for it, but we couldn't achieve it because that mind was not there, that attitude was not there. We were only concerned with our little belly as soon as we became free. Everyone unto himself, and the devil take the hindmost. You see, therefore, the play of the devil in India today. When we were free, 1950, we had 100 million poor people. Today we have 300 million poor people. That's the nature of India today. We had so many literate people, today we have more illiterate people. All this has come because we did not become equal to the challenges of freedom. A new mind had to come. A petty-minded person cannot build a great nation. We were really petty-minded. All the educated people of India, they forgot the nation, They only thought of themselves. Otherwise, this wonderful free situation in India, millions of people educated, filling the various government departments, public services everywhere, if they all had this particular reference in their minds, my work has a reference to national welfare. I am a clerk in an office, I must serve the nation. I am a teacher in a primary school in a village, I must serve my nation. If my work were related to that larger context and millions of people are inspired by this idea, this country would not have remained in the state in which we are today. 40 years is long enough to solve all these problems. The constitution makers also thought that we shall be able to solve these problems. That is why in the constitution they said full literacy shall be achieved in India in 25 years. So 75 was the date for us to have full literacy. It is not even 35% still. It's far below. We're going down and down. That is why you can see the philosophy by which a society lives will determine the condition of that society. If it is self-centered philosophy, we shall have a stagnant society, stagnant economy. If it is a morally, humanly inspired society, you will have quick progress, human development. 40 years we have really wasted from that point of view, full of problems, more and more every day. Why that philosophy was wrong. Gita tells you, relate your life and work to the larger purpose of the nation, larger purpose of humanity itself. This global reference, along with national reference, is needed today. From the political angle, that's the message that you get. Even that message can save us from all difficulty. The Western nations have conquered their poverty and backwardness. It is because they had that attitude. They never considered work only for their belly. That work is meant to give them the strength to bring about happiness and welfare in society. That social orientation, humanist orientation was there in their thinking. They may have been materialists, they have been atheist, agnostics, even doesn't matter, but they had this humanist impulse. The result is they took the nation with them when they worked, so that respect for others, concern for others, response to human situations around them was constant in them. That is utterly lacking in our people. You can see the evils of it again and again. Nothing moves in our society. Nobody gets anything that is due to him or her. I go to an office, I am a farmer, I want to get some loan. By the time I get my loan of 100 rupees, I have spent already 95 rupees. Then only I get 100 rupees loan. That is India today in every sense of the term. It is this that makes us think, what is wrong with us as a people? We are very religious. We go to the temple, stand before God, weeping our eyes out, even put 1,000 rupees in the hundi there. But when we come back, the man who comes to you for a little service, because you are in the government, you are in a very important position, I could really wipe his eyes and tears, but no, I am unconcerned. Come tomorrow, I am not caring now. Finished. That's the answer we have all over in India. This is the condition of society, because our philosophy by which we live is a very poor, limited philosophy, not fit for any decent human being. We have to change it. We study the Gita, we hear all the lectures, but somehow or other we are anchored in that tiny philosophy, self-centered philosophy. We have not been able to rise above it. Even in prayer, we only think of ourselves. Oh Lord, give me this, give me that. As I often used to quote a English verse, which can be considered to be the real meaning of our day-to-day prayer. Oh Lord, give me strength, give me welfare, save my wife, my son, John and his wife, us four and no more. I am concerned only with these four, nobody else. That is the prayer actually being prayed by our people in their day-to-day life. That will change. A new focus will come. This wonderful language, sakarmana samabhyarchya siddhim vindati manavaha. Relate your work to a larger frame of reality. First is the welfare of your own immediate neighborhood. I am in a village, there is a village panchayat, there are problems in the village. My work must have some reference to the happiness of people in my village. Then as I become educated, I shift this reference to a wider field, not by neglecting this one, but expanding it, my sympathy, my understanding. And in political language, we reach up to the national level, India's welfare. I am concerned with. I shall do nothing which will weaken this nation. I will strengthen this nation. I will help to wipe the tear of as many people as I can. This kind of reference is what we need, what was expected of us when we became free. The entire responsibility to build up the nation came upon us when we became free. That's called freedom. That's called Swaraj. That's meaning of a republic. No king, no emperor, nobody is there. You and I are there. But this profound opportunity was completely lost by the people, by their very little self-centered philosophies of life. Personal ambition. I am not concerned with anything else. I must go up. I must go up. Mother tells him, you go up. Father tells him, you go up. Society tells him, you go up. And he goes up and up. Doesn't care what happens to anybody else in the world. That has been the ruin of this country. After 40 years, we are still treated as an undeveloped nation, a developing nation. Problems are multiplying. Only you have to seek explanation in that little mind which we get through our education. From primary to university, the only thing we get in education is go up, be ambitious, achieve your ambition by any means, even by unscrupulous means. That's a language our mind is constantly uttering every day, and the result is what you find today. Nobody is happy. Nobody is happy. Even those who get high position, even he or she not happy. I was interested to read in the July issue of that weekly called The Probe, the woes of middle class in India. A wonderful write-up is there. The middle class, called the educated section of Indian society, they expected to get great things. Yes, they got great things. Salaries became 10 times more than what it was before. Grandfather got 30 rupees a month. Grandson and daughter getting today 3,000, 4,000, 5,000. So money is plenty. Wife earns, husband earns, all that is there. But are they happy? In that report you will find actual, what you call, investigation of the human situation. The result is that report says there, no, I am not happy. I can't get a ticket for my train. I don't get this. I have to pay money for it. To get an electric bill I have to pay. Though I have got plenty of money myself. But I, as injured them, they are injuring me also. They are mutually destroying each other. That is what middle class India society today. We are destroying each other. A government officer or a clerk can do immense good to the people by the spirit of service. He doesn't have it. And when he goes to get his things done, he also gets the same treatment. We don't want you. You go. So he is also exploited thereby. And so the whole of society in that stagnant condition, a little thinking must come now. What is wrong with us? Parasparam bhavayanta shreyaparam avapsyatha. In the 3rd chapter, Krishna had said, Parasparam bhavayanta. Try to enhance each other's welfare. Then all will go to the highest level. Only I, all will go down. That's a wonderful idea. Mutuality, interdependence is the law of society. We need each other. Alone you cannot make a society. It was wrong that we thought so. That is what happened to us, and we have to correct it as sooner the better. These ideas of the Gita have got wide reference to human situation. Why should think of God? Yes, because the profoundest reality in which you and I are all one is that reality. So by realizing God, I become one. My oneness I realize with you all. That's the nature of the divine. So this kind of thinking, making ourselves wider and wider in our perspective, sympathy, understanding and action. That is how human growth takes place. A very robust type of humanity comes on the scene with tremendous humanistic impulses from within. What Vivekananda called development of the heart of man. Brain comes to you through education. Heart has been stifled all the time. We don't care for others. We don't care for others. We only care for oneself. That is what makes for corruption in society. Ask that one question. If there is a little humanist impulse in man, A little spirit of service, will there be corruption? Never. Corruption comes only when the spirit of service dries up. A man has come to get things done by me. I am not concerned with him. I am only concerned with myself. I treat it as an occasion to get something for myself. So I become a bribe taker. For anything that I do, I must get a bribe. But if I had a little concern for the individual and try to serve him, I cease to be a bribe taker. I will not come under corruption. So the spirit of service alone can cleanse society today. And the spirit of service alone can lift up the common people of India. When the educated people have the spirit of service, they become instrumental in wiping the tears of millions and millions of people. It has not happened, that's a tragedy. It will happen again, we shall be able to achieve it, is the hope for the future. When will it come? How it will come? When people read great literature, which will inspire this kind of growth, they will grow in that direction. Among all such, today in India, the greatest source of inspiration is Vivekananda literature. Anybody who touches that literature will get the shock of his life, shocking out of complacency, pettiness, meanness, and develop that broad attitude, the big heart along with the big brain. He himself said, can you have the intellect of Shankara combined with the heart of a Buddha? That is education. Where is that heart, that concern for others, feeling for others? In Vivekananda literature, you get a tremendous compassion. People read these books before independence. From beginning of this century, our nation is getting educated in Vivekananda literature. Highly inspiring. Men like Gandhiji and all of them have said, highly inspiring. They make us lovers of man. They make us servants of humanity. He spoke of Daritra Narayana. See God in the poor, not merely in the temple. See God in the poor, the suffering, Dukkhi Narayana, Murkha Narayana, ignorant, illiterate person. Serve that person there, serve that person. What a beautiful message he gave. This human orientation of our tremendous philosophy of Advaita, that philosophy of non-duality. You and I are one. I love you. I feel one with you. I serve you. This philosophy inspired batches of patriots in India. They fought for freedom. They got us that freedom. If that had continued to inspire the nation, would have been quite different today. But it did not inspire thereafter. As soon as freedom came, we get salam to all these teachings. Let me be confined to myself. I am a fresh blotting paper. I want to blot maximum ink for myself. We are now in that soaked condition. Absolutely. And nobody is happy in that condition. Kant's critique of ethical action, one of the most important statements of his, is relevant in this connection. Kant has written 3 great books. One is on high metaphysics, second is on art, third is on morality. These are famous books. Immanuel Kant, the great German philosopher of the 18th century. Ethical action, he has given a beautiful definition. He says, that action which if you do and if all others imitate you in doing will make for general happiness and welfare, that is called ethical action. That action which if others also imitate you, all will be unhappy, that is unethical action. If I speak the truth, let others also speak the truth. All will be happy. If I speak a lie, all others follow suit, the world will be bad. So moral action has got one quality. If others follow your way, all will be happy. So he has given that wonderful dictum. Act in such a way that if all others were to follow your example, all will be happy. You have a spirit of service. All others also begin to imitate you. What can I do for you? What can I do for you? A government secretariat clerk, officer, a village schoolmaster, or a midwife, a nurse, anybody. Always, what can I do for you? What can I do for you? What a beautiful conception. I am here to help you. My knowledge is there to make your life brighter. If this is done, A imitates B, B imitates C, the whole society becomes service-oriented. Everybody becomes happy. Parasparam bhavayanta shreyaparam avapsyatha. You nourish each other thereby and all rise to the highest level. That is how nations become great. There is no other way. There is nothing metaphysical about it, nothing mystical about it. Ordinary human virtue and grace is the spirit of service. The West had achieved it, therefore they became modern, progressive, banished poverty, banished such kind of illiteracy, etc. If we are to become that, same way we have to do. Not by magic, not by jadoo. We can't do any such thing. This character efficiency, this spirit of service, this spirit of renunciation of the little I, manifestation of the larger I, that alone can bring about that change in India and the rest of the world. Some of the small nations around us are far more advanced in this matter than we are in this country. And they are called very religious. 90% of this religion is nothing but static, worldly piety. There is no character coming out of that piety. We have to realize that truth. Swami Vivekananda made our nation to realize this truth towards the end of the last century. Out of this great philosophy of Vedanta, which was in the hands of mystics and scholars, never came to the people. Out of that philosophy, he brought out a practical, workaday philosophy for every human being. And that inspired the nation. And they threw up great workers, great patriots. They faced bullets, they faced hanging, and they got us freedom. If he had continued in that spirit, by this time all would have been happy in India. And today nobody is happy, even the well-to-do people are not happy. How can they be happy? You live in Bombay. 50 years ago it was a wonderful city, clean and fine. Today ask a Bombay citizen, nobody is happy. Half the city is full of slums. Naturally a lot of crime, lot of suffering, everything is there. How did you bring it about? Because of your own selfishness. You never cared to improve the rural society. You only cared for yourself. The urban orientation of Indian thinking has been tremendous during the last 40 years. We only work for the urban area, never cared for the rural area. The result is, urban people also are in suffering now. More of violence, more of killing, more of dacoity, all are coming into urban areas. So you can see the truth of it. At least now, let people realize this. Let us bring about healthy social changes, economic changes, educational changes in the rural areas, so that they don't rush into society of the urban area, making for urban problems which you find all over in India today. In this way, healthier attitude will come, and Vivekananda's teachings will become widely understood, and people get inspired by these ideas. Slowly, we will be able to overcome these problems and develop a healthy society. That is the future that is before us. Independence came to us through his great contribution. Men like Radhakrishnan have said, Vivekananda taught us how to fight for freedom and achieve it. He will teach us now how to use this freedom for the good of all. That is where you find in Swamiji's literature some wonderful passages where this orientation is given to Indian people towards the end of the last century, when we never expected even the idea of freedom. But with 50 years later we got freedom. So he has given us that education. That education must continue now in our schools and colleges. From primary class onwards, citizenship education. I am a citizen of free India. I am here to help everybody. I am not a selfish individual. It's my ambition climbing up all the time on the backs of other people. Children must be given this orientation, humanistic orientation. Then, after one generation, by the time they come up and fill up government departments, public life, profession, etc., slowly improvement will come. Quickly nothing will come, because it's a slow process, changing one attitude to another positive, healthy attitude. So from primary school onwards, this teaching has to come. A little correction we can apply to the present situation by reading Vivekananda literature by groups of people. They bring health into the apparatus of administration and social life. Here is a passage in Swamiji's lecture on the future of India, delivered in Madras in 1897. Imagine, just 50 years before India became free, What a wonderful lecture. Future of India. Most modern idiom, modern language, dealing with the future of this great country in this modern period. Yeah, after dealing with many aspects of the subject, Swamiji comes to an important point, the spirit of service, that humanistic impulse which is lacking in our people. We have become so selfish, so self-centered, and a slave mentality has come. I won't rise, I won't allow you also to rise. That's called slave mentality. Fighting with each other, litigation, always. How can that nation become great? Why? Very religious, going to all the temples, plenty of money spent on religious processions and all that, but no human value, no humanist concern is there. That should not be. Comes a great orientation to Indian thinking in this passage. This is very often quoted by several writers. So he says here, yes, if one of our countrymen stands up and tries to become great, we all try to hold him down. But if a foreigner comes and tries to kick us, it is all right. We are happy. We are happy. This is the mentality of the slave, he says. We have been used to it, have we not? And slaves want to become great masters. How can it be? Unless you remove slavery from your mind. So he says, for the one of our countrymen stands up and tries to become great, we all try to hold him down. But if a foreigner comes and tries to kick us, it is all right. We are happy. We are happy. This is the mentality of the slave, he says. We have been used to it, have we not? And slaves want to become great masters. How can it be? Unless you remove slavery from your mind. So he says, for the next 50 years, see the wonderful foresight of the speaker. For the next 50 years, this alone shall be our keynote. This our great Mother India. What a wonderful idea. Think of the nation. Think of the people. Millions and millions of them, he says. Think of this wonderful nation. Keynote. This is the only God that is awake. Everywhere his hands, everywhere his feet, everywhere his ears, he covers everything. This Virat Swarupa in Vedantic language, Brahman in the temple is a limited image, like Vishnu, Shiva, whatever it be. But this Shiva is millions around you, infinite. We call it Virat Swarupa of the divine. It's Vedantic language, Virat Swarupa of the divine. All other gods are sleeping, he says. What vain God shall we go after, and yet cannot worship the God that we see all around us, the Virat. We don't worship this. We are busy worshipping some unknown gods here and there. He says, when we have worshipped this, we shall be able to worship all the gods. Before we can crawl half a mile, we want to cross the ocean like Hanuman. It is impossible. It cannot be. Everyone going to be a yogi, everyone going to meditate, it cannot be. The whole day mixing with the world, with karmakanda, ritualism, etc. And then sitting in the evening and blowing through your nose. Is it going to be such a wonderful, easy thing? He says, it is all nonsense. Do you think rishis should come jumping through the air because you have blown your nose 3 times? It is all nonsense. The language is all nonsense. What is needed is chitta shuddhi, purity of heart. And how does it come? The first of all worship is the worship of the Virat. The men and women that we see around us, the living thing that we see around us, that is the Virat. We have not learned to worship that. He says, the greatest fault of the Indian people has been, we have not learned to worship that. We have learned to worship God in temples, but never this living Virat that is around us. Other nations did it, they have progressed, not we. See the language. How does that come? The first of all worship is the worship of the Virat, of those all around us. Worship it, not merely serve it. Worship is the exact equivalent of the Sanskrit word. No other English word will do. Worship your people around you, the language. What becomes worship? When work is done in a spirit of reverence, that becomes worship. Worship doesn't mean you need a bell to ring the one hand and light in the other. That is our way of seeing things. Worship is you stand before that poor man in front of you. Have reverence for him. He is a fellow citizen like you. He has a spark of the divine within him. So when you work for him, you have reverence towards him, not merely help him. This is called worship in literal language of Sanskrit. Arhayet, archayet, that's the correct word from the Srimad Bhagavatam. Swamiji's mind was thinking of that one word in the third book of Srimad Bhagavatam when he uttered his word. Worship it. Worship is the exact equivalent of the Sanskrit word, and no other word will do. Stand in reverence before the people. A feudal society will stand in utter contempt for the people around them. This is not a feudal society. We want a democratic society. Stand in reverence before the people. Serve them. We are here to take you up. All our strength is for you. That attitude we never had. We need it. Forget everything else for the next 50 years, he said. What a wonderful statement it is. There is, worship is the exact equivalent. No other English word will do. These are all our gods, and men and animals. The first gods we have to worship are our own countrymen. These we have to worship instead of being jealous of each other and fighting each other. It is the most terrible karma for which we are suffering, and yet it doesn't open our eyes. We have tried to kill each other, destroy each other, and we have been destroyed by foreign invasions again and again. Our eyes do not open yet. What a low state we have come to. What a beautiful message. Imagine hundreds of young people sitting, listening to these words. No wonder, Romarola says, like lightning, it struck the people, and they felt highly inspired at the time. Reading this literature, batches of young people became servants of the nation, patriots working for the freedom of this nation. Young people in hundreds came out of this teaching. If only after 1947 we had continued this kind of study, today we would have quite a different situation. None of these problems would have been there. And so, before this lecture was delivered, when he wandered to India as a wandering monk, 1892, January 2, December 1892, in Irish Kanyakumari, called the wandering monk, Parivrajaka. Just now, the Vivekananda Kendra Kanyakumari is framing a tremendous program for 1992, centenary of Swamiji's wandering monk experience. A big group of people will start from Calcutta in January on the 12th, Swamiji's birthday, and reach Kanyakumari December 22nd, exactly the date on which he reached there, passing through various places in India, through which Swamiji passed as a wandering monk, arousing the people in that area. It is a very big project, very inspiring project, costing about 1 crore of rupees. And they are collecting the money by selling 1 rupee, 2 rupee coupons all over the country. Just now, President of India started this selling a few days ago in Delhi. Now, that Vivekananda's experience as a wandering monk, where he saw the living India full of suffering, and he reacted tremendously. We have neglected our people centuries together. Hindu rulers, Muslim rulers, Christian rulers, all ruled over them, neglected them, exploited them, never cared for them. He is telling young people, you care for them. Your life is different. So writing from America, after all these wanderings here, with a heart full of feeling for the people, he goes there. From there, in letters, he sends tremendous inspiration to the youth of India. One such letter is here, written to Alasinga Perumal of Madras, that young person whom Swamiji found a wonderful type, tremendous energy, dedication, and he became the center of Swamiji's influence throughout this area. 1894, he writes 93, from America, he writes here, say, wonderful, the whole idea, how my heart ached, see, he's writing there, Breezy Meadows, Metcalfe, Mass, Massachusetts, America, 20th August 1893, just a month before the Parliament of Religions. He is still an unknown person. He has no money. Whatever money he took is fast being spent. Not much friendship anywhere. That time he is thinking of the people, thinking of India, remembering his experiences as a wandering monk. Then in this letter, you find the heart's blood of Vivekananda coming out in the form of this great letter. How many young people read these letters, became inspired by that humanistic passion, dedicated themselves for the good of the nation. Why that tribe does not increase in India today? Once they develop this, when they fill the government offices all over the country, they will become instruments of social change, social redemption. That's what Swamiji is inspiring in this letter, the young people of India. He says, oh, what I see in America, how many activities are going on for the good of the common people. He saw one such activity in America, in Chicago. Then he says here, how my heart ached to think of what we think of the poor, the low in India. They have no chance, no escape, no way to climb up. The poor, the low, the sinner in India have no friends, no help. They cannot rise, try however they may. They sink lower and lower every day. They feel the blows showered upon them by a cruel society, and they do not know whence the blow comes. They have forgotten that they too are men, and the result is slavery. Then he says, that's fine. This, 100,000 men and women, fired with the zeal of holiness, fortified with eternal faith in the Lord, and nerved to lion's courage by their sympathy for the poor and the fallen and the downtrodden, will go over the length and breadth of the land, preaching the gospel of salvation, the gospel of help, the gospel of social raising up, the gospel of equality. No religion on earth preaches the dignity of humanity in such a lofty strain as Hinduism, and no religion on earth treads upon the necks of the poor and the low in such a fashion as Hinduism. The fault is not in religion. We did not understand the great teaching of this religion. Despair not. Remember, the Lord says in the Gita, to work you have the right, not to the fruits thereof. Gird up your loins, my boy. I have been drawn, he says, I am called by the Lord for this very work. I have been dragged through a whole life full of crosses and tortures. I have seen the dearest and nearest die, almost of starvation. His own brother and sister suffered from starvation. He has seen it when he was a young student. I have been ridiculed, distrusted, and have suffered for my sympathy, for the very men who scoff and scorn. Well, my boy, this is the school of misery. This human life is the school of misery, which is also the school for great souls and prophets, for the cultivation of sympathy, of patience, and above all, that indomitable iron will which breaks not, even if the universe is pulverized at their feet. I pity them. It is not their fault. They are children, yea, veritable children, though they may be great and high in society. Their eyes see nothing beyond their little horizon of a few yards. The routine work, eating, drinking, earning, and begetting, following each other in mathematical precision. See the language. What feeling must have been there, what thinking has been there behind this, and it is so true even today, after nearly 100 years. Their nice, their sleep is never disturbed. Their nice little brown studies of life never rudely shocked by the veil of woe, of misery, of degradation and poverty. It has filled the Indian atmosphere, the result of centuries of oppression. They little dream of the ages of tyranny, mental, moral and physical, that has reduced the image of God, that is man, to a mere beast of burden, the emblem of the Divine Mother, that is woman, to a slave to bear children, and life itself a curse. These people living in high life, they don't see all this. They don't care to see as well. He says that. But there are others who see and feel and shed tears of blood in their hearts, who think that there is a remedy for it, and who are ready to apply this remedy at any cost, even to the giving up of life. And of such is the kingdom of heaven, quoting Jesus Christ, and of such is the kingdom of heaven. People who can feel, whose hearts are big, who try to express themselves in acts and modes of service, they constitute the kingdom of heaven. Is it not then natural, my friends, that they have no time to look down from their heights to the vagaries of this contemptible little insects, ready every moment to spread their little venoms on each other? That's a common type. Narrow, petty, self-centered types. Trust not to the so-called rich. They are more dead than alive. My hope lies in you, in the meek, in the lowly, but the faithful. Have faith in the Lord. No policy, it is nothing. Feel for the miserable. Look up for help, it shall come.